choosing and using computer software for data analysis. There is a growing trend for using computer software for data analysis, and particularly for qualitative data analysis. As researchers, we must be able to know the advantages and the concerns which are involved in using computer software for data analysis. So there are, of course, some advantages of it, and there are concerns as well. Although we can do the analysis manually and using the traditional analytical procedures, but we do have computer softwares, and therefore we must be exploring first that whether we do really need some software for analysis, right? So that's the point that we should explore first. There are advantages. If we are using a computer software, then the procedure would be done with quite ease, right? And the burden would be quite less. That's the advantage. And maybe most of the researchers are usually carrying on with their analyses through computer software, because there is a lot of burden when you are dealing with a lot of qualitative data, right? So the handling of the data, the transcription of the data, the coding of the data, and then retrieving and exploring and looking for patterns. So manually, that's a big burden. So in order to avoid this burden, people are actually, researchers are actually interested in using the computer softwares, right? Because this cutting and pasting by hand is really a laborious work, right? And then while doing the software, we could think about coming up with more powerful, more appropriate, more authentic sort of analysis, because computer is involved. So when the computer is involved and the softwares are involved, then we may think that the analysis is quite powerful. Creating and inserting codes in the text files manually is also a very burdensome job, and that's done while using softwares. We can also create index list, indexing of the data, and then we can also think about hyperlinking various aspects, various pieces of the data in one file, or maybe more than one file when we are using the analysis using computer. And we can also retrieve the data, but of course there are concerns. And the first concern is that we are using a shortcut when we are using through computer. So we save a lot of our time and energy, but that's a shortcut. And then there is the concern that that shortcut would impede the process of analysis, and there would be a gap between the data and the researcher. Okay, so do we really do away with maintaining this distance between the data and the researcher? Right? When you are doing manually, you are closely working on your data, and therefore you are reading it, you are exploring it, you are doing a lot of processes. So that would keep you very close to your data, and you would be noting down each and every aspect of your data. So that's the point, that you should first think about this concern, that the distance which would be created as the result of using a computer software for data analysis would not really create the gap between you as a researcher and your data. And that distance is not really bringing in any change about your results. So that's one concern which must be evaluated and explored. Let me just give you some points regarding the traditional qualitative analysis. Like when you are doing it traditionally, of course, it is labor intensive. You would be doing a lot of labor, and you would be spending a lot of your energy and time. But the point is that that can also be done. So you must be making sure that whatever you are doing is not at the cost of your quality of the analysis. So that quality is really important. So when you are doing it traditionally using your manual analysis, then you would be transcribing the source material with a word processor, for example. You would be using Word file, and then you would be making multiple photocopies of the text because you need the hard data and you are doing it manually. So, of course, there is a lot of photocopying involved. And then it's, of course, painstakingly done because there is a lot of, labor and a lot of time-taking, procedures involved when you are, of course, when you are coding your data, when you are labeling your material, and then you are, cutting pages up into coded passages, and then you would be sorting it down manually. So the manual sorting and the coding is, of course, taking a lot of time. And particularly when you are done with your coding and labeling, then you are required to go for, the search of patterns and attributes, right? So that would also take a lot of time. But on the other hand, if you are not doing it manually, traditionally, and you are using a computer software, then of course there are, advantages. The workflow would remain the same maybe, but it is now very easy when you are using computer, right? So the capability of data storage is, ideal when you are using modern softwares and modern computers, right? And it's automated. So you can automatically search and display, and you look for your results. And you can insert text to your analysis. You may add images, pictures, videos, audios, and you can also use a number of, files, a number of softwares, and you would be assigning codes not only with the help of your computer, but you can also, assign codes to various parts of your text and your data. And it's easily done. And even when you are using a software, you can prepare your report also with the help of your software, okay, your computer tool. So the report writing, right from the entering of the data to the final report writing step of the data analysis, you would be using computer, and you would be, handling with a lot of sets and subsets of your data, and you would be, doing it with a lot of ease. So these are the advantages, but remain those concerns are there because those concerns must be taken into account before finally going and opting for software for qualitative data analysis.